What is going on, Spanko squad, and welcome back to the channel. This year marks the 20th anniversary of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and to celebrate, we're spending an entire month revisiting the decks of the GX era, all while trying to make them as competitive as possible. Now let's be real, some of these decks are gonna put up a fight, and some might not. But we're here to push them to their limit. Whether it's Heroes, Cyber Dragons, Crystal Beasts, or even the really obscure stuff, we're giving them all a shot. And if you want access to every deck profile I'll be showing this month, plus exclusive access to 4 deck lists that will not be shown here on YouTube, check out the Metafy GX month package. For just $10, you'll have access to this package for life. And that includes any updates and any changes made to these deck lists. It's the best way to keep up to date with all your favorite decks while also supporting the channel. Hit that like button, subscribe if you guys haven't already, and with that, let's get into GX month. So welcome back to another GX month video. I'm super excited because we are chazzing it up today with Armed Dragon. Now this is a deck that I've done on the channel a few times, but this build is a little bit more tailored and suited for today's format. Again, I do this with all my Armed Dragon videos. Although you can go first with this deck, I think it's always better to go second with this deck, try to break boards and try to OTK, because that's what this deck does best. The end boards are okay at best, they're not amazing, but when you're going second, you're able to break boards. This deck can OTK like no tomorrow. So with that being said, guys, let's get right into it. But make sure to also check out the Metafy, where I have this deck list and all my other GX month deck list on the Metafy essentially, and they get updated for life. Also, essentially, it was only supposed to be 4. It's now 7. But I actually have one more that I'm going to add, so it's going to be 8. So there's going to be 8 exclusive deck lists on that Metafy that are not going to be shown here on YouTube. So let's get into it. First things first, we are playing 3 Armed Dragon level 3, 3 Armed Dragon level 5, and 3 Armed Dragon level 7. It's very important that you max out on these because these are the starters of the deck. These are the ones that get you into your big boss monsters. These are the ones that push a lot of your game plan, right? Now, if you guys don't know, they all kind of have a similar effect, where if they're on the field, you can send one monster from your hand to the graveyard and then kind of level them up, right? So from level 3, you level up to 5, and then you level up to 7. Now, 7 can, of course, level up to 10, which we are playing one level 10. This is just a big monster for you. You don't want to play more than one. Honestly, this is the one quote-unquote cuttable card. I still like to play the one, though, because it does come up here and there. So one level 10. And then lastly, we're playing 3 Pile Armed Dragon. This is kind of like it's honestly the best one because it special summons itself, so it doesn't take your normal summon. Essentially, you can send another Wind Dragon monster or a level 7 or higher Dragon monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon it, and then as a cost, he activates an effect where you can send a Armed Dragon essentially to your graveyard, and then that's really good because all of these cards have effects when they're sent to the graveyard, right? So for example, level 7 has an effect where if it's sent to the graveyard by a Dragon monster's effect, so in this case Pile Armed Dragon, then you can add any Armed Dragon card from your deck to your hand. So any Armed Dragon card, doesn't have to be a monster, doesn't have to be a spell, any Armed Dragon card. Level 5 has a similar effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a level 5 or higher Wind Dragon monster. So 7 search any Armed Dragon card, this searches any level 5 or higher Wind Dragon monster, and then level 3 has the same effect where you can just draw a card if he's sent to the graveyard, right? So they all do have effects, and the reason for that is because they also want to rank themselves up. So if you draw a level 3 and a level 5, you can use the level 3 effect, pitch the level 5, summon a 5 from deck, but then you're going to be able to trigger the level 5 effect that you pitched from hand, right? So that's kind of the synergy here, and that's why you're playing 3 Pile Armed Dragon, because this essentially gets you to any of these cards in the graveyard, which gets their effects off, which is really nice. Then lastly, for the Armed Dragon cards, we are playing 3 Armed Dragon Flash. This is essentially E-Tele for your deck. You special summon a level 3 Armed Dragon monster from your deck in defense position, so you get you to your level 3 every single time, and it's good because it doesn't take up your normal summon, right? So 3 level 3, and then lastly, 1 Armed Dragon Lightning. Lightning's a pretty decent card, but it just gives you another option to search off of your level 7 if you kind of already have everything in rotation. So that is it actually for the Armed Dragon package. These are the cards that you want to max out on, and it's kind of important to max out on these because you want to see these names. Even if you have them in your hand, unlike other decks where you don't want to see too much engine, these cards in hand actually do something for you in engine because you're going to want to pitch them for Dragon monster effects, and then you're going to get their effects off, which is really nice as well. So that's it for the Armed Dragon package. It's a pretty big package, but I think you need to be playing these ratios. So next up, we are playing some supplementary engines / packages, and the first things first is 3 Tempest Dragon Ruler of Storms. Tempest, of course, is really powerful because specifically it's a Wind Dragon, so it synergizes a lot with the Armed Dragon cards, but it also has an effect where you can discard this card and 1 Wind monster to the graveyard, and then you can add a Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. This is, of course, also a Dragon monster, so if you use this effect and let's say you pitch a level 3, you're also going to be able to activate the level 3 effect because it was sent to the graveyard for a effect of a Dragon monster, which is really nice. And then we also are playing 3 Lightning. Now, guys, unfortunately, I only have 1, but you do want to play 3 for sure. This card is absolutely insane as well. It's another Wind Dragon, which is very relevant. This one has the effect where you can discard this card and 1 Dragon or Wind monster to special summon a Tempest from your deck, which is really nice. So it gets you a special summon. It also is a winged dragon, which is nice because you use it and you discard something like this, then you're going to get the effect off as well, which is really nice. So lightning is really good because it is an extender for you. It's kind of like your E-Tele for Tempest. But the really cool thing about lightning as well and Tempest is because they can send any wind monster. So it doesn't have to be a wind dragon. It could be any wind monster. So for that reason, I'm playing a package that I think is really good actually in Arm Dragon, and that is a Kashtira package. Specifically, we're playing 3 Kashtira Unicorn. It's a wind monster, which means that even if you don't have access to your Arm Dragon monsters per se, you can actually pitch this card from your hand or extra copies from your hand for the effects of Tempest and Lightning, which is really nice. It's also important to have monsters in your hand at all times in this deck because you have to pitch monsters to get their effects, not of these cards, but the Arm Dragon cards. Specifically, all of these cards, level 3, level 5, level 7, you need to pitch a monster to get their effects off. And so having the extra monsters is really good. And I was thinking, okay, well, if this deck wants to go second, what are some of the best going second engines? Kashtira is a really good one. Specifically, Unicorn is really good because it's wind, but we're also, of course, playing 3 Fenrir. Now, why is Fenrir really good? Remember how I just said that you have to be pitching monsters? So the really cool thing about Fenrir is if you're starting with Fenrir, let's say you don't have access to Unicorn, you can special Fenrir, activate its effect to search. You can search Unicorn. Now, if you have like Birth, by the way, we're playing 1 Birth and 1 Theosis. If you have Birth at Theosis, it could be really powerful as well. But let's say you don't have these, right? You can go Fenrir, activate effect, search a unicorn, and then you're going to be able to use like lightning plus unicorn to summon a Tempest, for example, and then you can kind of continue playing from there. It's really nice, Fenrir, because it always replenishes the monsters in your hand, or if you can even just search itself, honestly, that could be really good as well, right? Because it doesn't matter. The point is that you'll have extra monsters so that you'll always have fodder for your Tempest, your lightning, or any of your Arm Dragon monsters. Now, we are playing 1 Theosis and 1 Birth. The reason playing Birth, of course, Birth is an absolutely insane card. Theosis is a card that a lot of people cut from the Kashtira engine, but in this build specifically, it's not bad. It does lock you into XC summoning, but you're mostly going to be XC summoning anyways. You have a few link plays, but I think Theosis can be very, very powerful, especially in a deck like this one that needs resources. You can use Unicorn, activate effect, search Theosis, activate Theosis, summon Fenrir, Fenrir effect to search. Now you have 2 level 7 bodies on board, but then you've also been able to search an additional card to your hand. So you have another card in your hand that you can pitch for all of your other monsters. So these are the kind of supplementary engines that I'm playing. I think these engines are really good. There's arguments to be made for a lot of different ones. Pankratops is another level 7 monster that you can play that synergizes well with this deck. I just think the Kashtira package is just so powerful, especially going second. Fenrir is just a great card, so that's why I'm playing this package over here. So moving on to the non-engine, of course, our engine does take up a decent amount of slots. So for that reason, I decided to play board breakers instead of hand traps, because I think with hand traps in today's format, you need multiple to be, you know, relevant, right? And if you don't have a lot of space for hand traps, the odds of you drawing multiple are not that great. So for that reason, I decided to play breakers. So we're playing 2 Thrust, of course, and then Thrust is going to get you into a bunch of different cards in this deck, right? So Thrust is really good in today's format in general, because you can search stuff like Harpy's Feather Duster, you can search Triple Tactics Talent, which is another really good card, because if you draw both of these, by the way, and your opponent has a single monster effect, like, you're doing so much with these 2, so it's absolutely insane. Then we're playing 3 Ultimate Slayer. Ultimate Slayer is, I think, one of the best cards in today's format, because you can answer Ryziel, you can answer Malice, you can answer so many different things with this card. And I think in general, with a deck like this one, where you have a lot of extra space in your extra deck, you can make room for a decent amount of Slayer targets, and that's why Slayer is good. Slayer's always been good pretty much in every format, but a lot of decks can't actually use it because they don't have the space in their extra deck. This deck does, which is really nice. And then for the 40th card, we are playing 1 Called By. I actually was debating between Called By or another Thrust target. I decided to go Called By just to protect some of your plays, but you guys can play another Thrust target if you want. Another option that I was thinking was playing 1 Talent and 2 Lightning Storm here instead. You guys can do that if you guys want to try it. I just found that Lightning Storm didn't come up as often as I'd like it to, even though in theory it could be good. So for that reason, I decided to play 2 Talent, because Talent is just an insane card. But yeah, that's it for the non-engine. This is for the board breakers. Essentially, this is going to be able to help you push, but keep in mind, stuff like Fenrir is also a board breaker for you, which is really nice. So moving on to the extra deck over here, we are starting off with 1 Shangri Era. I like playing the 1 Shangri Era just because we are playing the Kashtira package, so that could be really relevant in a lot of situations. So 1 Shangri Era, this is very nice. You kind of end on Unicorn Fenrir with this. It's kind of nice. Then we have 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion and 1 Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overload. Now this is a really cool OTK package that you guys can play, and that's why playing Theosis is not bad, because you can put together still an OTK through Theosis, which is really nice. Essentially, this is just any 2 level 7 dragon monsters, and then you can rank this up on top of Rebellion, and then this has an effect where if you have a Rebellion as a material, which you will, it can make 3 attacks. And at 3000 attack, 3 attacks is pretty relevant, so we are playing this as an OTK package.
one Big Eye. Big Eyes, of course, are really good, just Xyz monster in general. One Dark Armed, Dragon of Annihilation. This is another really good card. Again, you're just playing the typical, like, Kashtira level 7 stuff, but in this deck specifically, it works really well because they are all dragons as well, right? Red Eyes Slayer meta is actually really good as well because there have been situations where you can push for a lot of damage, but you can't necessarily go for game. So you can end on Red Eyes Slayer meta, because if you're leaving your opponent with like 500 to 1,000 life points, like, okay, you're ending on this and they're not beating you at that point, right? Which is very nice. And then we're playing one Seal, one IP, one SP. This is pretty generic in most decks right now, especially in Dragons. You of course have to play Seal. And then we're playing the one BLS, Soldier of Chaos. This card is actually really good in this deck because specifically all of your monsters are level 7. For that reason, if you're making this with your level 7 monsters, it does have that protection effect where it can't be targeted and it can't be destroyed by card effects, so it has to be destroyed by battle. But at 3k attack, it's pretty hard to be destroyed by battle as well. Plus, it has an effect where if it destroys a monster by battle, then it can gain 1500 attack if you want it to. It has other effects as well, but the most important thing is that it kind of just becomes a tower for you. And then we are playing some targets for Ultimate Slayer, of course. So Garura and Entis are the best fusion ones, so I'm playing both of these. We're playing one Aggregator, one Adignister, Wind Pegasus, and then one Farajit. So I think this is like the perfect ratios. You guys can play Malong. I actually decided to cut last minute Malong for the BLS because I thought this was another really good option, because I also realized that, you know, it wasn't really multiple times where I was using Ultimate Slayer, right? Because essentially you want to just push for game. But Farajit is really good because you send this against Malice or any Link monster, and then this card can get you to draw a card and you put a card back. So if you open a brick that you don't want to see, you can put it back and then you can kind of draw a nice card, which is very nice. Wind Pegasus Adignister is a really good bounce. Aggregator, of course, is in the gate. The reason I'm playing two fusions is because it depends on the situation you're in. If Entis is really good because you want to pop extra cards, you send that one. Or if you actually just need an extra card in your hand, Guru is really good to get that additional draw. So that's it for the extra deck. I really actually like this extra deck a lot. I think this is a very, very good extra deck. It balances a lot of what you want to do. It helps you OTK, but if you can't go for game, you have cards like Red Eyes Flare Metal and Shangri Era to help protect you. You have cards like Hieratic Seal, and then you have all your Ultimate Slayer targets over here.
So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy. That is my take on Armed Dragon for today's format. I still personally think that this deck is best going second to break boards in OTK just because of how the deck functions, but you can make some pretty cool boards going first as well. So if you guys want to check out the full deck list for this video as well as all my other GX month videos, make sure to check out the Metafy, where for only $10 you get access to this and all my deck lists, so early access, but you also have access to now 8 exclusive eight over here. 8 exclusive deck lists that are only going to be found on Metafy, and you guys get updates for life. So thank you guys all for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you guys did enjoy and you guys want to see more content just like this one. Keep in mind, we're in GX month right now, but we do product openings and we do combo videos and we do a ton of other stuff right here on the channel. So make sure you guys subscribe to stay tuned into all of that. Thank you guys all for watching, and with that, Spanko signing out. Peace.